welcome you all for the 8th IEC IEEE Smart Energy Standardization Coordination Workshop. This is in collaboration with BIS, IEC and IEEE. Welcome you all. Thank you for coming on time, and I see a good audience over here. So first of all, I welcome for the inaugural session, Reji Kumar Pillai, President ISGF. I welcome you, sir, to please come on the dais. Then for the special address, we have Richard sir from IEC, Madhusudan sir, he's Head Technology and Business from ICAT. He'll be joining us virtually. And we have Amarjit sir from IEEE. I welcome you, sir. B.A. Savle sir is also with us. He's DG CPRI. He's online with us. So first of all, I welcome all of you on the dais. So I request Reji Kumar Pillai, President ISGF, to give a welcome address.
Good morning and warm welcome to all of you for this 8th edition of IEC IEEE BIS Smart Energy Standardization Coordination Workshop. It's a long heading, but yeah. And there are, in addition to what is mentioned, there are many other standardization bodies are part of. Any problem? No. Many other standardization bodies are part of this workshop in the past, for the past just 7-8 years. And what we have achieved in this last 8 years of this exercise is avoiding duplication. And I was just in the other workshop which we started, we are saying we need to do more work than what we did. I mean, more work in the next 25 years than what we did in last 100 plus years in building the power systems around the world. For the net zero transition, the globally accepted or currently being pursued pathway is electrification. Electrify everything and take the electricity sector to decarbonize. So this is the approach. Whether it is correct or not, we don't know, time will tell. But according to most of the estimates, we have to triple the size of the installed capacity in next 30 to 40 years, because about 2 billion machines which are today running on heat, means fossil fuels, will get electrified. And the new sources, when we are going to triple the existing generation capacity, which is about 8 terawatts globally, to be tripled in next 3 to 4 decades, we need to build more transmission and distribution lines equivalent to what is existing today. In next 25 years, one study which came in November 23 says that about 80 million kilometers of new transmission and distribution lines to be built in next 25 years for an investment of $21 trillion. So this is equivalent to existing grid is somewhere between 85 to 90 million kilometers only. That is what we built in 140 years. So for the new generation, for the young people and the audience, the task is very high and the opportunities are also very high. So the global standardization organizations like IEC, India follow IEC, we follow in electricity everything which followed in Europe by and large, to 230 volt, 50 hertz, all this. And also IEC and other bodies in Europe and rest of the world, they are all working on creating new standards and new systems. As transport electrification happening on one side, many other activities happening. The new standards which are there, no need to reinvent the standard. If it is issued by IEC, we have been, in India, we've been adopting IEC standards with minor changes in some areas, country specific adaptations we have been doing. But many other things which are being done by IEC, which are ready for immediately adoption, done by Senelec, which is ready for adoption. ISO standards we've been adopting. So we need to, no point in recreating the same exercise if something is ready, already commercialized and adopted at large scale in some geography. In this era, we don't have the luxury of time, we should adopt it. That was the idea which Richard been, as ambassador of IEC, he been going around and building this relationship with other standardization bodies. And that's so with Richard's motivation and involvement only, we started this 8 years ago. And we have been very successful in adopting some of the IEC standards and IEEE standards in the smart energy or smart grid area. We even created some new standards which is not been done in many other places. So I won't get into the details of it, particularly on EVSE. The charger standards, what we have done, some of the basic standards we adopted from IEC and ISO, and many of the new things like EV standards, etc., which we developed here are first of its kind in the world actually. So ETD 51, some 14 or 15 standards we have already issued in the last 5 years. Many developed countries have not done that. And similarly, on our request, ISGF request, the IEEE standard 1547 for smart inverters is being adopted. Most probably end of this month or next month, the final approval from the technical committee will be granted end of this month, and that will become a standard in India for the smart inverters. So all DER, distributed energy resources connected to the low voltage grid or medium voltage grid, will be through a smart inverter, and that can be remotely monitored and controlled, remotely managed. So that is a need of the hour which will bring flexibility to the grid. That is what we are going to do. One standard which IEC, the user interface with the grid, you would have heard of OpenADR and many other standards in different parts of the world. So IEC decided to develop standard for user interface with the grid. They have constituted a project committee, so which Richard chaired, PC 118, Project Committee 118, that was in 2012. 2012 we started in January or February. And it took 5-6 years to finally adopt some standards, develop the standard, and by and large we adopted what was there in OpenADR 2.0, and that is issued as a IEC standard in 2018, IEC 62746-10-1, 2018. So this is adopted in India as same number, IEC 62746. So 2022 December we have adopted. So many of these things which we have done are pioneering efforts in grid modernization. And we continue to do this in collaboration with other standardization bodies. We have been discussing with BIS on adoption of OCPP standards. Lonika is there. In the afternoon we have a session in the other room on OCPP standards and its current status. So in fact, for management of EV charging platform with the EVs and the drivers, that's the only standard which has globally emerged, is OCPP. And the framework for BIS adopt the standard of IEC because there is an agreement, a framework agreement in place. Sometime in 2014-15, with our involvement, BIS executed a agreement with IEEE also for adopting IEEE standards. And such an agreement with OCA, Open Charge Alliance, is being discussed, and it's in the final stages. We hope it will happen sometime this year. So, and globally, OCPP 1.6 or 2.0.1 is the only standards which are being used globally everywhere. There is no other standard for that, and which is being adopted currently by IEC, which in the afternoon session Lonika will explain that. And here also, even before that IEC adoption, perhaps BIS may be able to adopt that. And very interestingly, another standard which was issued is for a smart communication for smart infrastructure. There's a WISN alliance, which many of you know about it, WISN Field Area Network Standard, which globally all the leading players in communication, the wireless communication, are adopted it. They are all part of the WISN alliance. And this is adopted 2 years ago by IEEE. what's IEEE standard number? 2857. So the same thing is adopted with some minor changes. BIS has adopted it early last year as 18010, IS 18010. So many of these things, as I said, is we are far ahead of many developed countries in this standardization process, and we are very happy that BIS has become a very progressive institution over the years. And in the good old days when standard is finalized, it takes several years to finalize a standard. This has to be printed. It will go for printing, and printing there's a queue because somebody has to check there is no comma, semicolon correction. That itself used to take over a year. So with great difficulty in 2015 we finalized smart meter standard. So IS 16444 of 2015, with great difficulty, with all fighting between the industry players and utilities, we finally finalized it and given for issuance. And that time I was told that it will take 18 months to publish after the document is finalized. That time our power minister was very progressive, and even now the current power minister also very progressive. So he said, in this digital era, 21st century, why you want to print it? You publish it as PDF, because ministry was very keen on getting this standard out. So the first standard which is published by BIS as a PDF standard was 16444 in August 2015. And standard used to be sold. In the past, standards used to be sold, and you had to pay money and download it, or you buy the book by paying some money. And it was against IP violation. I downloaded it, I gave it to somebody else. So the then power minister has become the BIS minister now. And he said, no point in selling it. How much money you earn anyway by selling the standards? It's peanuts. 1 month salary of BIS cannot be taken care in that. So make it free. All standards, BIS standards, are today free. It's only the one which we adopted from IEC and IEEE. There is some small money. Some few hundred rupees you have to pay for those standards to be downloaded. But interesting is that an IEC standard which cost you $100, here it's available for some 300 or 500 rupees. That's a change which has come in. So thank you very much. And this dialogue which you have been doing in this as part of India Smart Utility Week has contributed to many of these initiatives and new standards development and more collaboration among the standardization organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for giving a glance over the standards and ISGF's contribution to it. So now I welcome Richard, sir, from IEC to give a special address.
Good morning. Good morning. Great. I'm very happy to be here in front of you this morning for different reasons. Well, the first one is that when you look or browse the agendas, this topic might not be the most attractive at all. But let me tell you, for maybe the newcomers, that this might be the most important topic because standardization is not about details or technical details. It is actually strategy. It is actually industrial strategy, and this is something that has to be considered and worked on in the first place, not at the very end when you develop new products. And you see at the end, you have to just think about, oh, is it complying to some standard? Standards are not just administrative burden. And this is usually very difficult to understand until you really have to make your living from building new things, innovating, deploying, and deploying. This is becoming maybe one of the highest challenge of the industry, because deploying means large numbers. And large numbers means very quickly complexity. I have more than 40 years of experience in the industry. I come from the utility industry, where when you start to digitalize, you see it's magic. It's magic. There is no limit in what you can imagine. But as soon as you start to implement, test new things, then you discover that this new digitalization, global digitalization approach is creating an invisible complexity, much, much more difficult to handle than whatever has been done in the industrial sector since 1900. Because before, you could see what you were doing. There was an issue, you could see it. You could call upon different people, they would see the same thing because those things were physical. Okay, so of course, it seems very basic what I am saying here in front of you today. But you know what? A lot of decision makers don't have this in mind because they have not been practitioners, because they didn't burn their fingers on it. If I'm talking about this, it's because I've been actually responsible of digitalizing the instrumentation and control systems of the French nuclear fleet. And I can tell you that until you start to burn your fingers, you don't get it. This is about system engineering. So this is where the rubber meets the road, where you really have to face complexity. And the complexity, well, it's even more interesting when you realize that it's not about complexity to design, develop something that's going to work and that you can demonstrate in a lab. No. It's about the complexity you have to face when you have to provide certification. Because, well, complying to a standard is great. You see, you can brag saying, oh, I have something that is compliant. That's fine. But it's of no use if you cannot demonstrate that actually is going to interoperate. And this is really, really where, well, especially in the nuclear industry, from where I came from, you see, even though you can develop things, you can show it works, until you make the demonstrations, you are not allowed to even start operating this. Okay, then I moved, I developed a lot of things regarding smart grid, and I was very fortunate to be one of the few people starting what became the smart grid wave across the world with Reggie, who I met actually really on those topics in the years, I don't know, 2005 maybe, something like that. And where, you see, all of this was just starting to boil. And okay, so you see, I'm very heavy here, and of course, I don't know you all here in this room, but I wanted to make sure that we keep in mind what we're talking here is about strategy. It is about understanding what we are doing before entering in technical details. It's strategy, it's also political approach. It's also dealing with regulators. So it might be one of the most complex domain in which we need the most seasoned people, and I'm very happy to acknowledge in the room pioneers, real pioneers, like Lonneke Driessen-Mutters, who, of course, we have been seeing those leaders across the world already operating for many years, and not a surprise that OCPP is coming up as an emerging, if not the emerging specification for EV charging. But also I want to acknowledge Leslie Mulder from Exegene that, okay, everybody see Leslie, who is really, those are really the pioneers, the people who are doing the real thing, having the experience of how to do it, so that it comes to the point that they enable the industry to make business. And in the end, all of us, we need that the business exists and that we find a product that we can operate and that we can deploy and master the complexity and not make it more difficult to develop, operate, and maintain. And of course, I have to acknowledge that this is the number 10 India Smart Utility Week, organized thanks to incredible heavy lifting that the India Smart Grid Forum has been doing all over those years with this public-private partnership where utilities are highly represented. And this is also another very important thing I want to stress here. Standardization is really, okay, what's the value of a standard? You see, we mentioned the books. You see, at some point you need to get the book to do something, to see what is written. But what's the value of the standard? Is it the book? Is it that it's well written, you can understand it? Well, no, the value is unfortunately invisible. It's actually the consensus that is embedded in the book. Okay, and this is very interesting because if you want to get a consensus faster, you need to have a limited circle of stakeholders. And this is great because they share the motivation, but they want to compete on the market, that's fine. And they get together, they can quickly come up with a very good industrial consensus. Now, if you want to go across the world and interplay with all the other industrial sectors than the one specific that has chosen this consortium of technology developers, this is where there are the IEEE, the IEC, that kind of organization, where what we do basically is enlarging the consensus. But as soon as I say that, you see, that means much more people you have to talk with, and much more people who might not be in agreement with what is in there, and especially because the stakeholder categories that are involved might be much more diverse. We need this diversity so that we get a consensus of the nature that is recognized by the World Trade Organization of the United Nations. Basically, this is what we're doing, IEEE and IEC. Okay, so there is a balance. We need all. We need the consortium, and all the consortia, you see, and to me, also dear to my heart, is to start some work and do some heavy lifting in some consortium, and then this can be worked on to further actually enlarge the consensus basis. To me, this is the ideal life cycle. It doesn't work this way. And of course, another thing very important is for many people, you see, we may think that there is a competition. Hey, why, if there are several SDOs, Standard Development Organization, hey, if there are several, there might be competitors, or they should compete to exist. Otherwise, there would be just one. But this is where we should keep in mind that the SDOs, they don't really exist. They are virtual organizations of members. And guess what? on each and every topic, you find the same members part of the different SDOs. So when we say, you know what, SDOs are competing, what they produce is not consistent, well, keep in mind that actually it's not necessarily the SDOs themselves that are not like run and managed like companies. It's the members who make the decisions. And sometimes, you see, it's very difficult, very tricky, but sometimes it's a good thing to remind the members to be consistent with themselves when they send representatives to the different SDOs on the same topic. Okay, so you see, I'm here just scratching the surface. I'm not trying to patronize you here. I want to share very basic thinking, where to me, you see, when we do something, it's not of a direct use, I'm not interested personally, and less, because I've been spending so much time on all those processes, all those topics, and really what counts is what we can get concrete out of the door. This is why I like very much ISGF and the India Smart Utility Week. This is why I like very much also interacting with IEEE. And personally, I don't consider there is a competition, I can tell you. If IEEE, at some point, I was considering a smart energy profile. For some of you might know what it is. And then actually, one day, IEEE gave me a phone call saying, oh, you know, Richard, now, smart energy profile, let's say IEEE has decided to publish it, and that's it. And so you don't need anymore to have those discussions with those people, even though you know them very well, you like them. And you know what, that's fine to me, because IEEE at that point said, but Richard, if you want, you can add the IEC stamp on the document. But I said, you know, I don't care. I'm very happy that such a good piece of work is published by an organization like IEEE. And even being IEC, I recommend the industry to use this IEEE 2030.5 standard. I could, and I want just to mention one last thing, which is, I mentioned complexity. I mentioned trying to do some things effectively, which means that you need to sort out things and really make decisions, because it becomes very tricky very quickly. There are so many people to discuss with. There are so many technical aspects. There is this booming technology innovation that keep actually sending us new devices, new sensors. There is next door an incredible session about virtual reality with demonstrations that we started to listen to some presentation. And this keeps actually flooding industrial people like us trying to do something, and we are trying to do things that is taking time. So how do we face this flooding and be able to keep doing things in a way that it will be useful? Well, this is really where I keep promoting system engineering for complex system, but system engineering not just for the technical project. Well, this is my background. No, system engineering for the standard development processes. And this is really what I've been investing a huge amount of efforts and time within the IEC since 2008 to start really managing and applying system engineering to the standard development organization, to the standard development processes. It's tricky, it takes time. I have a full presentation on this that is on this computer, but I will not show it to you. I will just propose that the organizers can distribute it or making available, I would say, as part of this session. And of course, I would be very happy to actually entertain any discussion with you on the different aspects. And I hope I disturbed you a bit this morning. I shocked you. I hope I've been shocking you with a few different things, because that would mean that what I've been saying might help some of you and discover new things, new aspects, and that my presence here will have been very useful. Just as a reminder, I represent here the President and CEO of the IEC. I've been the appointed Special Envoy of the IEC, and I'm also Special Envoy of the IEC at the COP28, UNISA, new organization that has been created, which is the Utilities Net Zero Alliance. This is a brand new organization started last November, and that you will all hear about, because of course we're talking about standards. There are vendors, okay? They want to sell their equipment. They want this to be even recognized by regulators so that utilities start to deploy and use it. But keep in mind, the utilities have the checkbook. The utilities are the one responsible for operations. So this is my world, and I hope at least I entertain you, and that you keep in mind that IEC and IEEE are doing their best to try to provide you ways to leverage your endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the importance of standardization and IEC role in it. Now I request B.A. Sable, sir, who is joining us, who has joined us online for his special address.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I seek my pardon on attending physically because of some personal reason I had to stay here. Of course, there was a meeting which got cancelled yesterday, late night. I came to know I missed was supposed to chair the meeting, and then unfortunately I got some personal reasons, some medical reasons of the family, so I could not travel there. Nevertheless, I congratulate IHF on continuously, I think this is the 7th or 8th year we have been organizing this IHF event, and this is the IEC IEEE Smart Energy Standardization Coordination Workshop. I think this is what is required to be done frequently. It's very close to my heart that IEC standardization. I have been involved in the IEC standardization, and then I am happy to say that I was awarded 1906 award by IEC in 2023. And IS, of course, I have been involved very much in IS standardization, which was mentioned by Mr. Reggie, IS 16444, and we are really happy to say that this is the only standard which comprises the comprehensive requirement. I am involved in this TC13, IEC TC13 committee of the metering, and we refer different standards for different part of the requirement. Maybe for the prepaid meter we have different standards, the common requirement we have different standards, but here we have we made a consolidated document where we define the requirement and refer the different standards, so that when we in India, our requirement is when meter comes under the mandatory marking, the BIS marking, it comes into mandatory requirement. And then what happened when you need to have a mandatory marking of the standards, that is one standard has to be there, which according to which the license is given to the manufacturer. So in that case, in absence of the standard, it is impossible for the manufacturer, because since the meter comes under the mandatory licensing of the BIS. So this is the really, this 16444 has helped the India to adopt the smart meter, and now we are, you are seeing the, it is evident very much that we are on the path of installing 20, I think 25 millions of meters. And it is happening. There are certain concerns. CPRI is an agency which is the national laboratory which is identified for verifying and certifying the AMISP solutions. We here are testing the end-to-end solution of the smart meter, and based on their performance CPRI, there is the committee under Ministry of Power which certifies that to the AMISP that they are eligible to participate in the tender. So that is what is happening, and now it is a reality. But we have several challenges about the performance of the meter in the field. There is a communication technology problem, there is interoperability problems are there, but we hope with the time passes and with such type of forums, seminars, workshops will help in dissipating the knowledge among the people, making people more aware about it. And thanks to Mr. Reji for organizing this, and I wish him all the best, and I hope many more such programs he will arrange to dissipate the knowledge, make people more aware. Now we are in the transition phase of energy. Now whatever happened in the past century, now we will see the sea change in the coming years, and the world is committed to the net zero carbon emission, and towards that we also have from India's commitment by 2070 we will reach to the net zero carbon emission the target, and we have an ambitious program from the Ministry of Power for the generation of renewable energy, including hydro, solar, nuclear, and many more other small sources of the energy. We will also see the microgrids, smart grids, and the sea change in the digitization of the power sector. Unfortunately, the power sector at a distribution level is not catching up with the pace of what required for the adopting the digitalization, because we have our own problems. The nation has a different segment of the consumer, different segment of the we have geological differentiations are there. The society, the different economic situations are there, and the technologies what one suits for the one area doesn't suit to other areas. So there are several problems are there, but unless it happens at the distribution segment level, the benefit of the digitalization, automation of this power sector will not get benefited. We have a major problem of the world. This is a common problem of the cyber security. So this is the major concern as we go on automation. We will have to see the immunity against the cyber security. This is the one of the major concern, and world is the IEC is working on that, IEEE is working on that, BIS also is working on that. Then this is the since this is the common issue across the globe. All the standardization bodies have to come together, find the solution, and unless, because there is no, as my the predecessors have already told that the repetition of the work at a different forum, it is a waste of energy, waste of time. So you want to catch up quickly, come to the common platform, then all the standard bodies, they harmonize with each other so that the work what one body carries out need not be repeated at other places. So it is the adoption of the work done by each other. That way help the community will be benefited, and we will not lose the time in the process. There is a need to collaborate with each other. Now IS and IEC already they are very in close coordination. The BIS many times try to adopt the IEC standards wherever there are small changes are required that are carried out. Otherwise, as it is the dual standards is issued. So this is what I wanted to say. Not taking much time. I would wish all the best to the program and success for the workshop as well as the conference. And I hope that next time I will be able to personally attend this program. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Raji.
Request Madhusudan sir from ICAT to give a special address. Oh, I think he has left. He had a meeting. So now I request Amarjit Kumar sir to please give a special address. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I know we are overrunning the schedule. So thank you, Reggie. Thank you, ISGF, and congratulations on this 10th event and 8th IEC IEEE event, which I have been attending without fail, all of them. And I have seen the quality, and I have seen the progress of this event and the audience and the quality of content and the sessions what we are being delivered, that has improved every year. So I am part of IEEE, I am part of BIS, and I am part of IEC. I am part of all the three. I am part of IEEE Standard Association. I have been vice chair for IEEE 15.4U, which is a standard which we did for Indian ecosystem. I am also convening a panel in BIS LITT 28, so I am associated with BIS, as well as I am also part of some of the committees for smart city and the communication in IEC from India. So if you look at, I am trying to move from all the standard bodies and try to see what's going on and try to harmonize things. So if you look at standards, we have been, so when we talk about standards, I remember everyone have seen this 3 Idiot movie, right? And there was a scene where he asks, what is the definition of machine? And this Rancho tries to explain, and he says, machine is everywhere. And I see standard is everywhere. The first incident of standard when we were in the school, our teacher used to teach how to write a letter. That is a standard. How to write a letter, that is a standard way of writing a letter. So a standard is basically embedded in our body in a way that it's part of your muscle memory. You don't even think, and you don't even know that you are using a standard, and you are actually surrounded by a standard and using a standard every day. So that is what the standard is. So specifically for Indian smart utility space, if you look at the 5-6 years back, the speed at which, or the pace at which the smart metering rollout and things were happening was little slow compared to today. What have changed? Anyone have thought what have changed over past few years that all of a sudden we see millions of deployments, millions of devices, projects coming up? What have changed? There are few things. One, 164.4 was not there. Now we have. So what is happening is, when a meter vendor is now looking for a OEM or a component vendor, everything is readily available because all the OEMs knows that this is the component I have to sell in this market. So standards is basically bringing that power. The price, since all the OEM vendors are manufacturing the same part, now the price is coming down. So the problem what ministry was facing or utilities were facing, that the price was very high. Now the price has come down drastically. Why it has come down? Right? It's because of the standard. So we need to look from that perspective, even just not from technology perspective, even from the process perspective, standards have helped us a lot. We see lot of model RFPs, right? What is model RFP? You can consider that also as a standard, which every utility is following, right? So today, 5 years back, or 10 years back, every utility was coming up with their own RFP, their own flavor of smart metering and AMI own requirements, and hence the OEMs were not able to come up with one solution which he can sell across India. Even though we were saying we have 250 million smart meters, when you go to OEM, he says, oh, I have only 100,000 project and this is the requirement for this 100,000, but for other 100,000, the requirement is different. So there is no standard. There is no one market of 250 million meters. But today we can say that we have one market, one India, one market, right? One metering, one standard, and any OEM who is selling in Jammu and Kashmir can sell in Kerala also, or Gujarat or Assam. So across India, same standard is being used, and that is the power of standard. It has brought down the cost. The rollout has increased significantly. So there are a lot of things have changed, and we have seen the impact of standards in our last 5 years journey in smart metering, smart city India. So with that, I don't want to add much because we have follow-up sessions also. We would talk more in more detail about specific standards. My area domain is communication system, so I'll talk more about communication system, what's going on. Rezi have already touched about IEEE 2857. I will talk more about that. So stay tuned. We will be talking more on standards follow on. Thank you.